I come from a tradition from a people who speak about deed, not creed. That we can talk all about beliefs, but it's how we act. And yet we have to look into text. We have to get a sense what is going to drive our actions. So we can look at certain phrases that are lovely in the Torah and the 5 books of Moses. In Deuteronomy, we read, justice, justice you shall pursue. In Leviticus, the well-known phrase, love your neighbor as yourself. Very central, important governing texts. But I want to pull a story for you, and you're going to help me remember a little bit, and we'll just make sure we're kind of all on the same page. I mean, after all, we're in a church, so we might as well study some Old Testament, or as we call it, just the Hebrew Bible. So the first people who are mentioned in the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, were in the beginning of Genesis. They are Adam and Eve. Fabulous. And then they have 2 lovely boys. Their sons' names are Cain and Abel, right? And so the text says something interesting. They grow up and you know, they bring offerings to God. Let's not worry about all that detail right now. And it says, he rose up, Cain, and he killed his brother, right? So all of a sudden we've got this whole fratricide thing going on. Welcome to humanity. And the rabbis create this whole story that actually the brothers were arguing because one was a shepherd and one was a farmer. And they were just arguing over who kind of had land rights and get your animals off my field and so forth and so on. And when God says to Cain, he says, where's your brother? What is Cain's response? I don't know. Well, true, nobody had ever died before. So like I have no idea where he is. What's the other lovely line he then says back? Am I my brother's keeper? Am I my brother's keeper? So we're starting off with the whole creation story. We're in Genesis. Boom. Am I my brother's keeper? Okay, zoom about, 30 chapters or so. And we've got this whole story of Jacob. Jacob has 2 wives and 2 women that he has children with as well. He has 12 sons and 1 daughter. And one of the brothers, whose name is Joseph, has these fanciful dreams, right? What do his brothers want to do with him? They want to kill him, right? And then no, let's not kill him, lest we not make any money on the deal. So what do? They sell him into slavery, right? Great. So when Brent and I were talking about this evening, kind of what I would talk about, whatever, we talked, why is it bad to hate? How does hate sicken our faith in our own lives? So look at what these brothers do. They hate their brother that much that they're just going to go and sell him off into slavery. And they do. Joseph, through all kinds of unbelievable events and just his own ability, some good therapy. At the end of the book of Genesis, we're in Genesis 50 now, right? And their father Jacob has died, and the brothers are in a panic that now Joseph is going to do what? What's Joseph going to do? Now that Jacob's dead, he's going to get a little revenge. He's going to get a little revenge. And what does he say? Joseph has this unbelievable moment of reconciliation. He says, look, what you did, you meant for evil, clearly. But what God has done, God has meant it for good. And what Joseph has done is he has saved not only his own family, because he provides for them, there's this whole famine that goes on, he provides for the entire Egyptian nation. Which gives us an answer to the question that Cain asked way back in chapter 4. Am I my brother's keeper? By the time we hit the end of Genesis, darn right, mister. Not only are you your brother's keeper, you're responsible for their entire family. And in fact, the entire host nation that you happen to be living in. You might even save all of humanity. So if we're going to ask, what is our role and how do we make sure not to sicken our faith or how not to sicken our world? We recognize that we are responsible for one another. Straight, gay, whatever, color, non-color, faith, no faith. We are our brother's keeper. We have to, because otherwise we get these death rates that are just staggering and society that becomes sick. So we have important roles to do. Again, if we're people of faith or not faith, we're humanity. We're created as humans. We have a responsibility in here about what we're supposed to do. Right now in the Jewish calendar is a rather hectic time. We're getting ready for the Jewish New Year, starts next Sunday night. And 10 days into the year, we go to the holiday, the commemoration of Yom Kippur. It's the Day of Atonement. It's the day when we are working on healing the sins, the things we've done wrong between us and God. The rabbis are very clear. We can't come into Yom Kippur and just kind of, think that we're going to make everything good. We can only make things right if we've made things right between us and our fellow man first. Then we can come into God and say, all right, this is between us. Because, listen, it's one thing if I go and eat a cheeseburger, which is not kosher, just so we're clear, that's between me and God. I got to work that out, and there's prayers that we say each and every day seeking repentance. Yom Kippur is kind of a big, important one. But if I do something wrong with my fellow man, that's also between me and God, right? I have to make things right between me and my brother or sister. But God's in that relationship also, so I have to atone for that. There's a story that I handed out. It's on the sheet in front of you. It's from the Babylonian Talmud, which is a source of great Jewish learning. It was compiled and put together by about the 6th century of the Common Era in Babylonia. And in Tractate Kiddushin, which actually is dealing with marital laws and all kinds of things, but the rabbis do not mind talking about one thing and going on to something else entirely. And they're talking about some of the sages and how some of them were particularly righteous or not. And they're talking about this guy named Polemo. So Polemo is this 3rd century sage. He's a student of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, who's really a very significant rabbi from the 2nd, 3rd century. And Polemo used to say every day, you can see in the text, Polemo used to say every day, an arrow in Satan's eyes. Just a lovely little prayer. Now, just so you understand who Satan is in Jewish life, all right, don't think about the guy with the pitchfork and whatever. Satan in Jewish life, if you've ever read in the book of Job, the adversary, so Hasatan, Satan, is the adversary of God. And he's in this kind of divine angelic court, and his goal is to really test God and humanity, quite frankly. So Polemo says, Satan should just have his eyes poked out, not bother us. One day, it's the eve of the Day of Atonement. All right, so we're just about to go into Yom Kippur. Our days in Jewish time start when the sun goes down. So before Yom Kippur, which is a very important day, and we fast, you have a very big dinner first, so you're ready for the next 24, 25 hours, you're not eating. So it's the eve of Yom Kippur. Satan disguised himself as a poor man, and he went and he called out at Polemo's door. What he calls out, we don't know. Right, he's poor. He's I need some food. He's knocking on the door. All kinds of people are inside eating. So what do? They bring him bread to the door. And he looks, line 5, he pleads, on such a day when everyone is within, shall I be out? On this day, when you're supposed to be working to make yourself a better person, everyone else is inside there and you're going to leave me out here? Thereupon he was taken in and bread was offered to him. Clearly not at the table, though, because look at line 7. On a day like this, he urged, when everyone sits at the table, shall I sit alone? So he's led and he sat at the table. As he sat, remember, he is testing humanity at this moment. He's testing these people at the table. As he sat, his body suddenly was covered with suppurating sores, and he behaved repulsively. Right? He's erupts in all these boils. Disgusting. And they tell him, would you sit nice? Sit, they would say, sit like a mensch. How are you behaving here, mister? So they gave him a glass. One translation adds in it's liquor, who knows, but okay. So they give him a glass, and he coughed and he spat phlegm into it. Lovely house guest. Is this great? So they scold him, right? What are you doing? This guy was on the outside. He had nothing. They have everything on the inside. He has to keep asking for them to act kind. And he gets it, but he keeps testing them. So what does he do? He falls over and dies. Line 14. Anyone else weirded out by this? Line 14. Polemo heard people crying out. So the guy this is his house. We don't know where he is exactly. Polemo has killed a man. Polemo's killed a man. Why do they say that? You can answer. It's okay to be wrong. And there's not necessarily even a right answer. God, it's bright up here.
The lack of hospitality.
The lack of hospitality by Polemo seems to have killed this guy. Well, but the people at the table each had a chance to be menschlich, kind. So what does Polemo do? He goes and he hides in the bathroom. Now, when the rabbis are talking about this, right, the bathroom's not attached to the house. It's out somewhere. Might even be a public bathroom somewhere. Satan follows him, and he fell before him. It's not clear who falls before who. If Satan falls before Polemo or Polemo falls in front of him. When Satan saw, because first of all, you can imagine, I thought this guy just died, now he's walking around already. That's kind of poltergeisty. So when Satan saw how Polemo was suffering, he disclosed his identity. Satan lets the whole deal be known. He's like, all right, listen, it's enough. You don't need to suffer now on this. And he asked Polemo, why have you been cursing me? Why do you speak so ill about me? What did I ever do to you? And so Polemo says, well, then what am I supposed to do? And Satan says, you should say, may the merciful one rebuke Satan. What goes on between you and God, that's for you and God, is the deal. Polemo and Satan are trying to work this out. And Polemo's like, what am I supposed to do? I thought I'm supposed to keep you from me. And Satan goes, you know what? Let God take care of me. You need to take care of you. You just need to take care of you and all these house guests who on Yom Kippur, when we're supposed to be like at the best of really taking care of our relationships with one another, we can't even handle this person who comes in who actually in many ways is a test. Every person that we meet is a test for us to try to live out those lines. Am I my brother's keeper? Justice, justice you shall pursue. Love your neighbor as yourself. So when you think we can have all the creeds that we want, how do you live? What do you do? And when we don't live up to the best of what our beliefs are, then we're really trampling on our faith. We're really just trampling on our faith. And so that's on us as individuals to work to make sure that we live up to our best morals and standards to help make this world a good one and a safe one for everybody. Thank you.